Yeah.
No, I look terrible.
Hello.
And we are going to be working on our chocolate fever again. So I want everybody to take out your book and your paper from your bag. And then just lay your bag on your desk, okay? Take out your book and your bag and then lay everything else out on your desk. Your book buddy bag. Just lay it on your desk, all nice and neat, up in the corner so it's not in your way. Let's see who's following directions. Harrison did, good job. Jordan did, good job. Who else is following? Aurora did, excellent job. Haley did. Awesome, awesome. All right, we're going to be talking about, before we start reading, so go ahead and close your books because we're not going to start reading just yet. We're going to talk a little bit about similes today because we're going to find a lot of similes in what we're reading today. Who can raise their hand and tell me what they think a simile is? Who can raise your hand and tell me what you think a simile is, Aurora?
Well, I think a simile, I'm not sure, but it might be like something that's the same. It sounds like same, but like same meaning of a word, maybe.
Maybe. That's a good prediction. Who can else make another prediction what they think the word simile means? Adam?
It's probably like another synonym for synonym. Like the two words are spelled the same, but they both have different meanings.
Maybe. Let's take one more prediction what they think the word simile means. Anybody else have one more prediction? No more? Okay, well we're going to find out from Mr. Braincop what we know about similes.
Right? Yay.
Nancy,
Let's do some.
Right. Be looking at your book for a moment while I bring up our Braincop video. Quietly, voices off, just be working diligently. Looking at your book, maybe making a prediction about what's going to happen next. Look at your next chapter and try to see what's going to happen next. Jonah, voices off, be looking at your book.
Just DCA learn.
Simile.
All right, boys and girls, I want your eyes up here. We're going to learn from Toby about similes, okay?
I'm reading a really good story. A frog and a kangaroo sat down to eat dinner. The frog's eyes sparkled like diamonds. Her stomach grumbled as loud as thunder. On the table, there was a watermelon as big as a house. "I can't wait to eat the watermelon," the frog exclaimed. "It's much too big for you," the kangaroo said. "You're as small as a grain of sand." "That's nonsense," the little frog cried. "I'm hungry like a wolf." The little frog began to eat all the food on the table. It even ate the silverware. The little frog became as big as a whale. similes in this story really bring the writing to life. What is a simile? A simile is a comparison that uses like or as. This story has tons of similes. The frog's eyes sparkled like diamonds. That's a simile. It uses the word like to compare the frog's eyes to diamonds. Her stomach grumbled as loud as thunder. That's a simile that uses as to compare her grumbling stomach to thunder. I guess similes can compare really different things to make a point. Well, a frog's eyes and a diamond don't really have much in common, but both can sparkle. And his stomach and thunder are really different, but both can rumble. Authors use comparisons to help get their message across to a reader. How can similes help you understand what you read? On the table, there was a watermelon as big as a house. The simile uses the word as to compare the watermelon to a house. I know that watermelons are big, but houses are a lot bigger. There's no way a watermelon could really be as big as a house.
Oh, yes.
It's an exaggeration. An exaggeration is a claim that something is greater than it really is. Comparing a watermelon to a house makes me think it's a really big watermelon. That simile helped me imagine what things look like better. Similes can also help you imagine how characters feel. In the story, the frog was hungry like a wolf. I know that in Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf eats people. And in The Three Little Pigs, it tries to eat the pigs. So I know wolves are famous for being hungry. This frog must be really hungry if it's hungry like a wolf. Sometimes I read similes that are confusing, and it's hard to figure out what the author means. So, how can you figure out a simile? It helps to stop and think about what you read. Let's figure out what the author is trying to say with this simile, Moby. The field was like a swimming pool in January. The girl waited for her friends to come. First, we need to find out what the simile compares. Right. It compares the field to a swimming pool in January. What is a pool in January like? Well, it's winter in January and really cold in most places. A swimming pool is probably freezing. But a swimming pool in January doesn't just make me think of the cold. When I go swimming in the summer, it's always really crowded. But in the winter, the pool is closed and it's empty. Kinda lonely. Hey, maybe the author wanted to show that the field was really empty. The simile helps me imagine how cold and alone the girl felt while she waited for her friends. When you read, it's important to stop and think. Sometimes when I read similes, I take notes on my ideas to figure it out. I love similes. They're as fun as a robot.
Alright, Cindy, will you turn on the light for me, please? Now, let's think about this. Did our prediction, were we correct? What is a simile? Now that we've talked about it, what is a simile? Grayson, please just swing me back. Thank you. What is a simile, Grayson? What did we just learn from Toby?
Where it describes something.
That's right. A simile is something comparing two things using like or as. Excellent. So we are going to do something. I need one volunteer, somebody who listened very carefully and quietly throughout this Let's have Haley. Now, Haley's gonna come up here, and we're going to play a sound. And while we're playing this sound, she has until the sound goes off to drag everything from behind this picture out. Okay, do you think you can do it? All right, are you ready? Go. Oh, you gotta be able to see it. Excellent. Excellent job. So let's read what she pulled out here, okay? This one is a poetic device. It didn't talk about it very much, but a simile is something that a lot of people use in poetry, to write poetry. And we know that a simile uses the words, what is this word?
Like
What is this word? Like or as. And we know that it creates an image in the reader's mind. Remember this frog? It was comparing him to thunder, his belly rumbling. You know, that helps us create a little bit an image in our head of that frog and how loud his belly is rumbling. So let's look at this one. It's a type of figurative language. It's just something that we use throughout English to help us be able to write. And it compares two unlike things. It compares thunder to a frog belly rumbling. Those things are not alike at all, but it's comparing them to make it alike. Does everybody understand that, Sydney? Everybody understand that? No. So let's look at a couple examples here. Playing chess with Ashley is like playing against a computer. What two things are they comparing? Notice, tell me what two things they're comparing and what word is it that makes it a simile? Khalil.
Chess.
And what are they comparing it against?
They're comparing it against a computer.
That's right. And what word is it there that's making it so you know that it's a simile? Like. Very awesome job. Now let's look at some whales grow to be as big as a bus. That's huge. What are they comparing? Right here.
They're comparing the whales to be as big as a bus.
That's exactly right. And what word are they using there that makes as? Very good job. Let's do one more just to make sure everybody understands. Taking drugs is like playing with fire. Taking drugs is like playing with fire. Jonah. What are they comparing?
Drugs with fire.
Drugs with fire, and what's the word? And like. You're ahead of me. I think you guys got this. Very excellent job. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our books. So everybody take out your book for me. And we're going to keep reading, but while we're reading, we're going to look for similes, okay? So if you think you see a simile in the story, I just want you to quietly raise your hand, and then I'll call on you, okay? So if you think, hey, that was a simile, I want you to raise your hand and tell me, because you will most likely probably be right. So what chapter were we on? 5. So everybody get your book out, turn to chapter 5, and what is the title of chapter 5? Who can tell me? Adam.
Calling Dr. Fargo.
Calling Dr. Fargo. That's right. And how did you know that?
I just said it.
Where? Because it tells you chapter 5, and then it tells you the title. So let's talk for a minute though first. What are some of our characters in the book so far? Who have we met? Aurora.
Elizabeth, the older sister.
That's right. We've met her. Who else have we met? Harrison.
Was it? I think it was Mark or Nick.
Mark.
Mark.
Yep. We've met Mark.
Henry's big brother.
Henry's big brother. Who else have we met? Stephanie? Who? Heather? Did we meet a Heather? I don't think there was a Heather in here. Who else do you think? Who's the main character? Who's the one who's got the fever? Who? Henry. Henry Green. And who else did we meet, Jordan? Nurse, yes. And who else did we meet, Grayson?
Dr. Fargo.
Yep. We met him. We haven't quite met him. And who else? Khalil?
Monica.
met his mom and, well, maybe. Who else have we met, Jonah?
This is Camel Farmer.
Kimmel Barber, that's right. So now, there might be more, but we're gonna review them again a little bit. So let's just start reading here. On page 34, we should have our wrappers down, since we're not using them as a bookmark just yet, because we're reading. And you should be open to page 34, following along with me as I read, okay? Page 34, and remember, if you think you see a simile, raise your hand. So follow along, okay? And years later, in later years, Henry couldn't remember who screamed first. All he could recall was that both he and Mrs. Campbell-Barber were yelling their heads off, and that Nurse Molly farting thing as cool as a cantaloupe. Calm down now, both of you, she said. Mrs. Campbell-Barber, you go and call Mrs. Green on the telephone. Tell her we're taking Henry to the city hospital. Mrs. Campbell-Barber didn't move. She just stood there with her mouth open, staring at Henry. You scoot. Yesterday and the day before we were talking about down curve letters, and today we're going to be talking